Hello fellow humans, this is Adam. I hope that you are doing well, and in front of me I have the M1 Max MacBook Pro 16-inch with 64GB of RAM, and then the M1 Max with 8TB of storage. So this is the fully spec'd out version that you can get in terms of the M1 Max, which has 32 core of GPU. Here I have the base model M4 MacBook Air with 256GB of storage and then 16GB of RAM, or unified memory as Apple like to call it, even though I am not convinced with that name. The last thing is you only have 8 cores of GPU and then 10 cores of CPU. I have them both running Unreal Engine 5. Here on the M1 Max, what I am getting in terms of frame rate is 40 to 45, with my delay is about 23 milliseconds, and I can barely notice the delay, and it's still in the green anyway, and then the frame rate is nice, and I can move and everything is good. Like if I am working with a game and this is what I get, I will be happy about it and there's no issues. Now let's move to the M4 MacBook Air. I am getting the orange, which means there are some stuff that are not working well. In terms of the FPS, we are getting only 22 FPS, like 20 to 25 FPS, and sometimes it jumps into the red where it's 19 FPS, so that is, not ideal. And then in terms of the delay, 44 milliseconds delay, which I can notice it. Like here on the M1 Max I do not notice it, but here I can actually notice it a little bit. So in terms of me working on a game here on the M4 MacBook Air, and that is the performance that I'm getting through, well, I would not cry about it. I can make a game and, let's say ship it commercially, so to speak. But is it the best of performance? Probably not. Now this is the third person project. However, one thing I want to highlight before we go into the next project. This is a Windows machine, and that is the Razer Blade 15 with 64GB of RAM and then a 3070 Ti. If your thing is only and nothing else, is only Unreal Engine, I think a Windows machine right now in the current state that Unreal Engine is at, a Windows machine is going to be better and it's going to give you a better performance. And we saw that in my previous video as well, where actually Unreal Engine did run better versus the M4 MacBook Air. You can go ahead and search that video on the channel. And then if you can get like $1,000 Windows machine for Unreal Engine, it's gonna give you a better performance than the M4 MacBook Air, and maybe better than the M1 Max as well, just because of the fact that you are getting a dedicated GPU if you are only using Unreal Engine and nothing else. Now if you are using a Blender and all of that, this equation completely changes, and everything that I said you have to throw out of the water. And if you want more proof, watch the previous video where we did those two machines versus the Windows machine for a Blender, and it was a shock. I'm going to close this project. Now the next project that I want to test is going to be the photo studio. So I'm gonna go here and then create the photo studio right here, and then the photo studio right here, and then I'm gonna hit a create. So we are at 45%, 55%. This is compiling shaders. This is going like there is no tomorrow, and this is open. That didn't take much. The shaders are done and we are at 75%, 90%, 96%, and the project is open. So here I have 69 frames, and then it's 14 millisecond delay, and that is 14 millisecond or 10 millisecond is the lowest that Unreal Engine can go to. So I am at the lowest millisecond that is possible with the software. As for here, I am at 18 frames. So let's move around. I am at 18 frames and I am at 50 right now, 50 millisecond delay. So this project, the photo studio, is definitely very heavy on the M1, on the M4 MacBook Air. Now let's go to the M1 Max. In the M1 Max, I am getting right now 60 frames. This is very smooth, and I am at 16 milliseconds. So it's much better on the M1 Max. And in a general sense, with Unreal Engine, you need a better GPU for you to get the better performance. And hence, with M1 Max having the better GPU is making the difference and is giving us double the performance. I want to open the project again and just to see which would open quicker. So right now I am creating totally new projects on both of these machines. So here we go. So this is at 10%, this is at 40%, this is 70%, 70%, 90%. So the M1 Max was actually a second faster. Probably it's maybe me pressing the click of a button. So I would say they are about the same, so you don't need to worry about which one would open faster. Again, this is the M1 Max and this is the M4 that only costs $1,000 or $900 if you are a student, is keeping up in terms of opening and in terms of the CPU performance, keeping up with an M1 Max fully spec'd out that at the time of purchase was closer to $8,000. So keep that in mind. Now the project that I want to open is the ArchVis project, and just to see how it would be handled by both machines, and honestly most notably how it would be handled by the M4 MacBook Air. So here we go, both of them having the project being open for the first time. The M1 Max is compiling shaders and then the M4 is compiling shaders. Here we are at 43%. Here we are at 45% for the M1 Max. The M4 is at 44% and the M1 Max is still at 45%. The Air, the M4, opened quicker. Indeed, it was faster than the M1 Max, aka the Pro. And the Pro is still compiling shaders till this point. And remember, when it comes to compiling shaders, this is a process that is heavily dependent on the CPU, and the M4 has a much better CPU in a general sense, so I am not surprised they actually did open before the M1 Max. And now it's open, so I'm gonna click here, open frame rate. So on the M1 Max, we are getting 26 frames with 40 milliseconds delay. I don't know how many frames you think the Air would have. Maybe like 10 frames? We'll see. So we are getting actually 10 frames. That is indeed. So 10 frames, but the delay is 80 milliseconds. I think this project is where the M4, it's like, nah, I'm out. So let's go ahead and run it. So here we are getting 30 frames on the Pro, and on the Air we are getting 10 frames. On the Air it's just like time traveling, but here on the M1 Max it's actually working without any issues. It's giving me a solid 30 frames per second. On the Air it's doing time travel, it's not even moving. It is struggling, to say the least. And again, that is expected because you don't have the better GPU here. I stopped it with the Air because it was just taking too much, and it was just averaging 10 frames, 10 to 12 with 90 milliseconds delay. Like, it was obvious the machine, it's not being able to handle it. And actually now when I touch it, it's warm. It was trying its best just to keep up with the project and it couldn't. Close Unreal Engine and then close it. Don't worry, nothing is gonna happen to this laptop. And instead of it, I'm going to bring the Windows machine and I will plug it into power right here, so you wouldn't say, oh, he did not plug it into power, which means the performance was different than he had it. Nope, I did plug it into power. Now, one of the downsides of Windows, without even anything, this machine is like, like the fans are just going crazy. Okay, it's finally done, and honestly it was taking so long. I just started watching videos about Elden Ring on Instagram because holy cow, that took a while. It's still preparing shaders. That's one of the things that I will give Max credit for. The CPU performance is just insane, where if you open a project it will compile the shaders and do whatever it needs to do really quickly. But in terms of a Windows machine, it takes forever for it to compile a project and then just open it or whatever that might be. However, when we are talking graphics card, then the equation would change from Intel, let's say, versus Apple to Nvidia versus Apple. That's a different ballgame. And Nvidia, they are really good with their GPUs, like I give them that. Here, in terms of the frame rate on the Windows machine, we are getting 40 frames with a 20 millisecond delay, and here we are getting 24 frames. So this is almost 20 frames more. So I'm gonna go ahead and start a project, and then I'm gonna start this project here again. So here I am getting 30 frames, and here I am getting 42 frames. However, it's playing and showing the whole scene here on Mac, but it's not on Windows. I'm gonna close this project, and for the sake of kicks and giggles, I did open the third-person project here on the Windows machine just to see the difference in performance. So I'm gonna open the frame rate. So I'm getting stable 60 frames, that is a stock, and I am getting 60 milliseconds delay. And if you remember the frame rate on the M4 in the realm of 25 to 30, and then on the M1 Max it was from 45 to 50 frames. So the Windows machine does have the higher frame rate, and at least with this machine it's working without issues, but I don't know what happened with the archive. So after this results, if you ask me whether the M4 is good for Unreal Engine, I will say no. As a whole package, if we are taking Blender, Maya, ZBrush and Unreal Engine into account, and even Nuke, I would say the M4 is excellent for all of that, except the struggle will be with Unreal Engine.